because it'll more than likely just be something I say, not something you say. Um, all right, introduce yourself, because if I'm not going to introduce you, you got to do it yourself.
Okay, all right. So my name's John Revell. I'm a member of the Columbus Kobolds, which is a local group to Columbus, Ohio. Been playing old school Magic since about 2015. So first started with my oldest brother, Sean, building a cube out of old school cards after he read MG's blog. This is probably like 2014. So we were limited players back then. We played a little bit of Legacy, so I already had some duels and stuff. But we played this cube, and it was just the most incredible thing in the world because there were all these cards from our childhood, and plus limited, right? So it was incredible. We loved it, and then we figured out that this was like a format people were starting to play. This is probably he probably had the cube completed sometime in middle of 2015, maybe early 2015. Wasn't late for sure, but at that point, Jayco had posted Eternal Central rules. I think they had that first tournament at like Eternal Weekend. I think it was like in 14 or something, and we started making decks. I remember like the very first piece of power I bought was like an Ancestral Recall, a CE Ancestral. I got it on eBay for like $40
How
or
much?
something.
Yes, excellent, good,
Yeah,
good.
so
Fuck.
and like my brother Sean, he had like heavily played CE Power that he bought. He bought this like CE Power set from a store in Colorado or something, like in the early 2000s for like $100. And I had a Time Twister in there. It was absolutely destroyed, and he gave it to me for my birthday. So like,
Yes.
I got pretty lucky getting in early, but I've always been not super competitive with Magic. I've always enjoyed. So I have two brothers, right? So Sean and Ben.
I was gonna explain the whole three brothers thing because like a lot of people get you all confused. But continue.
Yeah. So
I'm glad you are.
I'll just go ahead and explain it. So I'm the youngest. Okay.
Okay.
And then there's Ben, who's kind of in between Sean and myself. So Sean's the oldest. Then there's Ben. And there's me. So I'm the youngest. Ben and I play a decent amount. I would say Ben's probably the most active. He's probably more active than me. Sean used to play a lot. He's been playing a little bit more lately. He actually, our first old school tournament together was when we went to Cleveland in 2018, I believe it was, and went to the Cleveland Rocks event, their first event. And we actually did pretty well. So it kind of leads into a little bit of what we're going to talk about today. So I was on Rug Zoo. I placed 5th.
Yes.
And I know that's something that is near and dear to your heart, Eric, because, I know you've been playing this red-green stuff. I know you were going for that black border deck. Did you ever finish that?
It is mostly done. The Taigas, everything's altered, so it's either black border. It's like the black border cards are either CE or betas. My Taigas are revised, but they're full art alters I've gotten done. So like there's no white border stuff left in it. The only upgrades I need to make is if I want to make it like Euro legal, like Swedish legal, would be unlimited Taigas and a set of Ernies. Everything else is beta.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah. So Rug Zoo, I was telling this to Josh Bergoa this weekend. I was telling this to Case this weekend. Like Rug Zoo will forever be my favorite old school deck because my first dual land ever was a place to the Taigas. I got him for like $40, and I wanted to play Kurt 8. Like that's all I wanted to do is play Kurt 8 because he's just so much fun, right? Like I played Red Green a lot in Legacy back in the day, and I also played Fairy Stompy in Legacy back in the day. Fairy Stompy played Serendipity. Red Green Beats played like Kurt 8 and Chain Lightning and Lightning Bolt. So like it's kind of melding those two Legacy decks I played together into this mismatch of burn and all this stuff, and it's just like that is my favorite deck. I just hate sitting in a bottle. I hate getting bottled. Like I always want to throw Ernies in there too, but like bottle is just like my worst nightmare. But anyways, I placed fifth. I played Shaman Ben for first place. He was on his mono black rack deck. He absolutely destroyed me. I sided in like Whirling Dervish and Shatter and all this stuff, and I didn't draw any of it. And he just destroyed me with racks, and it was like amazing. He like put on a clinic that day. I think he was like undefeated or went X1 or something, but lost to Ben. But Sean, he ended up getting third place in that tournament. He went X1. His only loss was to me, but he was playing this mono blue workshop deck. And
Yes.
he was playing Suchi, Juggernaut, Triskelion, and Tetravis with Sage Alotnom and 4 Mana Vault. So he's just sitting there and getting Mana Vault out. He's sacking it and drawing cards with Sage Alotnom. And just watching this workshop deck, like, and understanding that workshops can have like an aggro strategy, because like a lot of these workshop decks, like they're playing like 8 creatures, 9
They're
creatures.
like more control builds.
Yeah. Like 4 ices, 2 relic barriers. So I wanted to get workshops. I ended up getting them. And I've been playing shops for a little bit. But I was always like, this mono blue shops list is really cool. I like it a lot, but it's kind of one dimensional, right? Like, what do you even sideboard, right? Like, you're cutting threats. Like, it's almost hard to kind of build a sideboard for it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I wanted to. So let's fast forward a little bit. So, fall 2022, I went to Thrash Bash, which is Dave Gura's tournament.
Yes, that sounds like a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, so good. Anybody listening, if you're on the fence about going to Thrash Bash, go to Thrash Bash. The venue is incredible. It's like you're stepping into a castle. Like, it's amazing. Dave is an awesome person, such a good host. We had such a good time there. I wanted to play workshops there, but I wanted to play like blue-green workshops, I think, but I ended up doing an audible. I played 8 Lion. I think I got like 9th place or something. Ran pretty close to Pez's list that he ran at Kumite a couple years ago, but I still wanted to run, workshop, but I called that audible. I was like, yeah, love a list here. So, let's fast forward here to Kumite here. That happened, this past weekend. Same thing happened. I was like, I've been playing a lot of Rug Zoo. Like, I played Rug Zoo at Eternal Weekend 19. I played Rug Zoo in Cleveland. I've pretty much just like been running this rug list. That's like been my main list. Like, I'll play other lists too, but like that's been like my main list I've been on. And I was like, I want to try to play workshops, but I don't want to play this like I don't want to play like Winter Orb, Prison Shops. I don't like that's cool and it's fun, but I wanted to play something that was maybe a little bit more interactive. And I went back. I did the same cycle I did before Thrash Bash. I was like, okay, let's start with this mono blue shell and let's just try to, work through it and figure out what we can do. I also talked to Sean Sullivan, and because I know that he's been running a lot of aggro shops lists.
Yes. Very good shops player.
Yes. So I was talking to Sean a little bit, talking to some other people, trying to figure out exactly what the proper list I should be running is. And where I ended up is I wanted to play an aggro list. Like, I don't want to be playing this list where I'm, like, Icy is good, and I think it's too good not to include. It's just such a ridiculously powerful card. But I also wanted an aggro aspect to this deck. So for me, in my opinion, I had to figure out, what are the best cards to put in this deck. So first and foremost, you have to include blue. So like I was just trying to figure out, okay, like blue is an auto include, right? So
right, mandatory.
You get copy artifact, right? Like
blue
copy
power.
Artifact, in my opinion, is what makes the deck so insanely good. Is you put a threat out like turn 1, you copy it turn 2. It's just ridiculous. tempo, right, with the copy artifact. So I thought, okay, I got to play blue, right? Then I was thinking to myself, okay, there's three, there's only really three good artifact creatures in Old School, in my opinion.
Okay.
Suchi, Interscallion are the best two. Tetravis is probably the third best one.
Okay.
But he's just like, I think Tetravis is just kind of okay because he's just a 6-drop and you have to wait a turn to take the tokens off, and then they have summoning sickness, and then you got to wait another turn to swing with the tokens. It's just like, if you get a trike out, even if they
You can
disenchant
start
it,
hammering right away.
yeah, even if they divine offer it, they're only gonna get 3 life, right? They're not gonna get 6 life. So like trike can have an immediate impact. You can drop it and then you can kill 2 Savannah Lions, right? So trike has an immediate impact when it's cast. And yes, I think Tetravis is good. It can help in those games where you're playing against a moat, but I think he's just okay. So I thought to myself, okay, why don't I figure out if there's some other creatures I could be playing? So thought about this for a while, and I was like, maybe I could just try Serendib. Like, because Serendib's the best creature in the format. I can probably get him on curve, maybe like turn 4. So thinking to myself, like, hey, maybe I go Suchi, um, you know, Icy Manipulator, Triskelion, Serendib free, right? Like that would be like how you curve them out.
Yeah, it's a good 3-drop.
And I play tested it, and what I ended up finding is you get these hands where you get workshop and you get Serendib, but you don't really have a way to get your Serendib out because you got workshop. And you have to commit to either the Serendibs or you have to commit to the artifacts, the artifact, like basically the
Right.
robots. So it was hard for me to figure out what the proper way to go was with that. And I ended up just saying, like, I just don't think this is going to be a fit because I'm just getting pulled in two, like, I'm basically doing 2 different things, right?
Yeah, it's like
They
having 2
aren't,
decks. Yeah.
yeah. So they aren't really going in unison here, right? So I play tested that up for a while and I was like, this is just not going to work. The other reason is that I just don't think it's going to work is if you bring in Abyss, like you just side out your dibs, and it's just like,
Right.
do I really want to be doing that? So it just seemed like if I was in a mono blue list, it might make some sense, but in my opinion, black is an auto include in shops just because of the Abyss. Because like the Mind Twist, DT, and Abyss are the 3 reasons that you play black in shops. Those 3 cards alone are why. Like to me, it's blue black, and then you pick your third color at that point. It's blue black white, blue black red. If you want to do blue black green, you can play Berserk or something, but like blue and black are like the 2 that are all like almost always auto included.
See,
Then
that's
I thought
interesting
about,
because I would choose white like as my second color just for the. I mean, we'll talk your list like in specifics, but like for disenchant and swords of plowshares, but the abyss really keeps you honest on that. So okay, all right, yeah.
I mean, I think white and black are probably neck and neck, but the Abyss is just so good because just think about it. Like you start on turn 3 or 4 in a shops deck, right? Like
Mhm.
you're casting a 4-drop turn 1 or 2, and then if you a couple turns later followed up with an Abyss, then if they're playing like a creature deck, like you are just getting so far ahead because they're either all their creatures are dying or they're not casting creatures, they're trying to build them up in their hand and then try to push them all out.
Right.
Like you're just getting so far ahead. So to me, I think like black is just so good just because of mainly Abyss. Um, and then, again, to me, it's either like red or white. I tested red. Um, I tried to test some lists where I went the burn route, so
Mm-hmm.
lightning
Like
bolts and
bolts and
psionic
chains.
blast.
Oh, psionic. Okay.
Yeah, but what ended up happening is like you can't even fit chains in the list because you're
What are you
cutting
gonna
like
cut?
icy
Right.
manipulators. If you want an aggro um suite of creatures, you're ended up cutting like icy manipulator for like lightning bolt. And to me, it just doesn't like to me like casting an icy manipulator and start tapping down permanents seems way better than just like 3 to the head. I don't know. Like I might be
Yeah.
crazy, but it just seems like it just doesn't fit.
You're not,
Um
and I feel like a lot of people are going like 4 toughness creatures are better. Like I feel like red currently is not doing well because I think people are playing around it with creature choices.
yeah, I would agree with that. You are seeing a lot more 4 toughness creatures for sure. Um So, I mean, the bolts end up just getting pointed to the head, or the people have to save up 2 bolts to bolt a single creature with 2 spells, right? So I kind of went this like lightning bolt route. It wasn't good. Then I said, hey, maybe I could just keep that and just play wheel because wheel's
Yeah,
good if
it's
I
just
have an
splash it.
aggro
Yeah,
set.
yeah.
But then and then I get red blast, and then I'm just like I don't know, like red blast, it gets um energy flux, but it doesn't get all the other enchantments I would want to be killing with disenchant.
Right.
So I kind of landed at a point where I was like, red's good, but then if the burn doesn't work, I get red blast, yeah, but like maybe I should be playing ATOG, and then it goes back to my point earlier, like okay, I'm playing Abyss, so like
Right.
I want to play Abyss. I played 2 Abyss in the main of my deck, just because I thought there would be a creature heavy meta at Kumite.
And you probably weren't wrong based on the list
Yeah,
I'm looking at. Yeah.
I ended up being very correct about that. This might sound silly, but what I went ahead and did, there's a great write up on the MCOS website on Kumite 2021.
Mhm.
That's the one that Pez won and everyone got COVID. But
I heard
but
that may have happened again this year.
yeah. So Paul sent out a message this morning saying that some people were getting COVID. So if anybody got COVID from the event, I hope you all get healthy quick. So that's
It just needs to be relabeled COVID day. Like people like twice now. Come on, just relabel it. Just relabel. It'll be fun.
yeah. So I was telling Ben today, like I think I'm just gonna bring some COVID tests next year and just put them on the prize table, and maybe people
Yeah.
might take it over and alter. They might
Yes.
eat it the next day or 5 days later. So, um, but anyways,
It happens.
yeah, yeah. So very much a creature heavy a meta there. But again, like I looked at the 2021 report on the MCOS site, and I counted how many like creature based like aggro decks there were, and it was like 70 or 80% of the decks. And I'm
Yeah.
like, if 70-80% of the decks are running non-artifact creatures and only non-artifact creatures, like I need to be playing Abyss in the main. So that's where I ended up landing, Abyss in the main. And then through my playtesting with red, I just added white. And I didn't really playtest my deck with white, but the core of it remained the same. I basically took the same list I was running with red that only had 1 wheel, and I took out a wheel and put it into balance, is basically what I did. And I took out
Easy.
something else and I put in a divine offering. Go ahead.
No, easy. Like easy choice, right? Like just replace the wheel with a balance. It actually might. It's probably just better, right? Like
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, in most matchups, it is probably going to be better. Like if I don't find my answers to their creatures early and I have a balance in hand, I can just reset the board.
exactly.
And if I end up getting my abyss down, like if it starts going sideways and they disenchant it or something, they spit out a bunch of creatures, I can just balance. So it just seemed like the right choice. Oh, I cut a fireball for a divine offering is what I did. So that ended up
Sure.
being my list. So I don't know if you wanna talk
The
through it.
the only question I want to ask you
Yeah.
is, we'll go. Hold on. I'll just read off your list, guys. This will be a picture in the on the website thing, and then I'm going to share it right now for those who are watching on the internet. Let me just pull it up. So for everybody just listening, 4 jugs, 4 Suchi. This is a 4-strip event, by the way. EC rules.
Yes.
4 trikes, 2 Tetravis, 4 manipulators, 4 copy artifact, 2 abyss, blue power, black restricted card, white restricted card, full set of jewels, lands that
Yeah.
match
So
everything I just said. Yeah, the normal, your standard stuff, right? 4
yep.
factories, 4 strips, 4 workshops. Sideboard, 1 extra Tetravis, 2 relic barriers, 2 city in a bottle, 1 brain geyser, playset of disenchant, playset of or no, sorry, 3 swords of plowshares, 1 more divine, and 1 more abyss. Which it all makes sense. Like the only thing I guess I'm surprised, it makes sense, right? Like you're really relying heavily on those abysses to take care of business. So there's no reason to
Yep.
have the swords main. And then you're in the mirror, you're probably set up better because you have a full play set of ices, right? Like, and the ices
Plus,
also work for control
plus
matchups.
relic barrier in the mirror, right? And
Yeah,
I mean, depending on what they're on, and
I
we'll
was
get
just
to that
thinking
later.
game one mirror, like in
Oh
like
yeah,
before
yeah,
you can sideboard, like your ices and that 1 divine offering are probably feel pretty strong in the mirror match.
yeah. The only thing that would maybe scare me in a mirror match is I know a lot of shop decks run 4 icy plus 2 relic barrier, so
Okay, okay.
that was a little bit scary, right? But I'm thinking to myself, if they're running 2 relic barrier, that means they're probably thinner on threats than I am. They're probably
Yeah,
running 9 or 10 or 11 creatures. They're probably running 4 Suchi, 4 Triskelion, and 2 Tetravis or something. Like nobody really plays Juggernaut, which is I think the big change to this list that
hmm
no one really plays Juggernaut that much. Um, and really, my thought with this and I was able to play test this a little bit. Obviously, when I was playing with red instead of white, my whole concept with this deck was to overwhelm the removal. So if I'm playing against a white deck that has only white removal, they only have 4 disenchant, 4 swords, and 1 or 2 divine offering, maybe 3. I had literally like 18 creatures, right? Because if I'm
yeah,
only
because your copy
copying
artifacts.
threats,
Yeah,
I have 18 creatures. So my goal was to unless like I'm behind on board, my goal was to be always copying a threat. I always like unless I'm like getting my face kicked in and I need to start tapping their threats or their permanents or something with Icy Manipulator, my goal with this list was to only be or only be copying a Jug, a Suchi, a Triskelion, or a Tetravis. That was the entire goal. Um, so again, a little bit bold, I guess. I don't know. But my thought was, okay, if I get a Juggernaut out turn 1 and you lightning bolt it, whatever, I don't care. I'm just gonna
yeah.
play a turn 2 Suchi, and you got to deal with that, right?
All
And
threats
maybe
no. Yeah, all threats
yeah,
no. Get like just get them.
yeah, and to your point earlier, like swords in the main would be good, but I like to think of ices as kind of that slot, right? Because if they
hmm
get down a threat, I can just start tapping it with icy, which I mean it's not the same as swordsing it because you're not, removing it from the game. It's still in play, but at least you're kind of dealing with it and getting around it and your creatures are still getting through.
Yeah, I mean, it effectively does the same thing, right? And like you still have the cost reduction because you still have your factories or not factories, shops. So I get it. Like I've never played shops before, so I always have to think about those, and like it makes sense in with how you built your deck. Um, I'll bring this up. I know it's on our list. I don't care about 61 cards. I think we all play. We're all guilty of the 61 card, even though it's factually incorrect to play it. I think we all
Yeah.
agree. Um, but no Library of Alexandria, which is
Yeah.
slightly surprising.
Yeah, so my brother Sean and I talk about this a lot. if I'm playing a mid-range list, I think it goes in.
Okay.
But if I get library in my opening hand and I go library go, I am just playing the deck wrong because I need to be playing a threat as quickly as possible. And a lot of times I was able to do that turn one off Moxes in a shop
Hmm.
or a bunch of Moxes and a Soul Ring and a basic. Like if I'm not puking my hand as quickly as possible and putting pressure on my opponent, I feel I'm kind of in I might be in the minority thinking this, but my entire goal was to put pressure on the board as quickly as possible to have them try to deal with it and get them on the back foot. Again, if I'm going turn one library, I just don't feel like I can. I mean, maybe I net a card off of it, maybe, sure,
Hmm.
but like I don't know. If I'm on the play, let me think about that. If I'm on the play, I go down to 6, then I draw for turn, then I got to tap my library to draw another card, right? So then I play a workshop. I can't play a threat then I go to the next turn. Just like it just puts me way behind my strategy of what I'm trying to do. Um Plus like if you even if you look at the list from Winter Derby, a lot of people had library in their 75 or 76, but a lot of them just put it in the sideboard. And to me, it was like, what would I rather have? A Library of Alexandria or Swords to Plowshares? Or a
Yeah, or
third
like
of
a
this?
brain geyser and just draw a bunch of cards at once, close it
Yeah,
out.
yeah. So this is it, like my decision to not include my library was probably incorrect, but I'm
I
trying
think
to
you make a
think
good argument.
like I'm just trying to think of a matchup where I would have maybe brought it in, and I can't really think of one where I would have really brought it in. So, um, and if it's to be at parity with an opponent who's on library, I guess I shouldn't really worry about that because
It's four strip,
one,
baby.
yeah, exactly. We're on 4 strip. Two, maybe they'll have to tap their library to cast something to keep up with me. I don't know, but that was my thought. I think I think Library of Alexandria is auto included way too much in decks. I
Oh,
think
okay. Overrated. Got it.
yeah. Well, it's a very good card. Uh,
Yes.
I have won many games off Library of Alexandria. I just think if you're in a heavy aggro list and you're just trying to spill your hand out as quickly as possible, I'm just not sure that's the best place for it.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
don't know.
That I don't disagree with that statement. I've seen other decks with it in the sideboard. So I mean, in a four strip environment, I don't. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think you're correct. I think you're correct.
Ben
Um,
and I talked about this on the way home for maybe an hour about what Ben's a big fan of Library of Alexandria. I like Library too. But Ben and I were trying to figure out what card in the sideboard comes out for a library. And I think we decided that it was the Tetravis. Um,
Probably it's probably yeah, probably
like
the Tetravis.
like 2 Relic Bears probably good against a Shop's Mirror, or if they're playing um Winter Orb, or I'm playing
Right.
against, Dreams combo and I want to turn off a Howling Mine, right? Like I think relic 2 Relic Barrier is good. I think 2 Sitting Bottles a no brainer. Brain Geyser, I'm kind of on. I think 4 Disenchant is right. I think 3 Swords is right. I think 1 Divine Offering is right, and I think 1 Abyss is right. So I think all like to the right of Brain Geyser, I think is 100% correct.
If
Um,
if I was gonna add it, I would drop a disenchant because you already have one divine main, one in the side, so that gives you have a fairly significant artifact removal package.
yeah,
That's I mean, if I had to, I actually think I probably. I mean, even if I had a low, I probably wouldn't, but I still think the Tetravis goes
yeah,
for a
I
low.
think you're right. I was just worried about a moat deck, right, where I just can't
Yeah, absolutely.
impact anything, right? So that was my fear. But I think library is probably maybe better there. So, anyways, that's my thought behind no library. The other thing is I didn't play Felwar Stone. To me, um, people love Felwar Stone.
Yeah, I know
I
your
think
mana
it's an
looks pretty
okay
solid.
card.
Yeah.
Like, like I'm playing for a 12 artifacts that are 4 drops. Like, I just don't think I need it.
You're
Like,
not playing double blue. That's why I don't think you need it. That's my opinion. I'm not obviously. I'm never even fucking played chops, but I think you want to play the Felwar if you're playing counterspell, so that you can go double blue a turn early.
yeah, and the other thing is, if you have, like, I was talking to people about this. They're like, yeah, but if you have Felwar Stone and Soul Ring in your opening hand, it's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, that's like saying if you have
Sure.
Ancestral and Time Walk in your first hand, it's amazing
Yeah.
because you're gonna play one of both of them. Like,
Yeah. It's
you know
it's
what I
cool
mean?
when you have Black Lotus like fucking Time Twister, like Mox Time Twister, right? Like it's fucking
Yeah,
cool. Like
exactly. Yeah,
duh.
it's just like I just don't get it. And to me, yeah, it helps you ramp early, but if you need a threat or you need an icy or something, or like a divine offering, and you draw a freaking Felwar Stone mid or late game, you're like, oh my god, give me any other card in my give me a strip mine, give me a Mizra's Factory,
Mhm.
give me
Some play.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me a give me anything but a Felwar Stone. It's like paying, like, to me, Felwar Stone, it's like paying 2 for a City of Brass in the middle of a game or a late game. It just is so bad mid and late game. And I might be in the minority here and people probably think I'm crazy, but I think the card is way overrated in my opinion.
I'll,
I just don't see it.
I'll get you, Urbano, and Sean all on together, and you guys can argue about that. We'll make a special segment if I can
Yeah,
convince them.
we can do that. That actually sounds good. Yeah.
You
Because
guys
I
can
I
argue
think they
about your
both
shots.
play
We'll
one.
get Nick on there too. We'll get Nick in there too.
Yeah.
Make it a
Yes.
four way.
Yeah. That sounds good. That sounds good.
Okay, let's get to the
So,
main event here.
okay. All right. So let's talk about it.
Can we just say that there's probably not a surprise why you're on this podcast right now?
What's that?
Can we just talk about why it's not a surprise that you're on this podcast right now, that you may
Oh,
have won this
yeah.
event maybe?
So,
Okay.
yeah. So I went 6-0 at Kumite on Saturday. And then I went 12-1 in games. So,
Yeah. So
I
pretty fucking solid showing.
yeah. So, honestly, I get like super nervous, and like, I don't know why. I just get super, super nervous before a tournament. And even like in round 3, I'm still nervous.
Even though
And
you're like 3-0-6-0 in round 3, you're nervous about that?
yes, I
Okay.
am,
All right.
because I'm afraid that I'm gonna come up against the deck, and I just don't know what it is. I play on the edge of my seat, and I probably shouldn't play that way. And the funny thing is like some of the people I play I know, so I don't even know why I do that.
Like
But
I know 3 of the people on your round list, and I know 2, like at least 3 of them are good dudes. So
oh yeah, they all
yeah.
were good. Yeah, they all were good. But I don't know. I don't know why I get nervous. I do though. But anyways, so do you just want to talk about rounds and kind of who I was matched against and
Yeah.
how things played out? Okay,
Round one's probably my favorite because like it's just like to me round one is like it's like a gut check, right? Because like I'm not gonna spoil it. You can talk about the round, but like that person's good, and that like like this is like make or break. Like start in the winning bracket or go back where Eric
yeah,
Martin's sitting in the loser bracket, and you got him. So you know what I mean?
yeah,
It's not like you had Eric Martin round one. We're like, oh fucking cool. I'll be ready to eat here in a minute.
yeah. So round one, I was paired up against Josh Burgo, which is hilarious. We both went to the table laughing, and the audience probably doesn't know why I thought why they think why it's hilarious yet. So, Josh and I were both on Rug at Eternal Weekend 2019,
Mhm.
and it was like 3 of the swingiest games of Magic I've played in a long time when I played them. It was just like haymakers back and forth. Like, he was playing Urnum. He was playing his typical Rug where he's playing Urnums, Serendibs, Two-Headed Giant, Berserks, all this stuff. And I was on this low curve Rug deck that was playing, Curd Apes and Pixies and Serendib Efreet and Llanowar Elves, so I could ramp my Serendibs out quicker. And I was playing 4 Giant Growth and 12 Bolts or 11 Bolts. And we had these super swingy matches, and the last play, I think the last turn of game 3 in Eternal Weekend 2019, I just swing with my entire team and it just made the board super wide with like 3 or 2 Mishra's Factories, like Llanowar Elves, like all these weenie creatures. I just swung and had this super wide board, and he didn't, like, I went all in on it, and you think I could do it, and I had a Giant Growth, and I think I Giant Growth my Llanowar Elves and beat him with it. And like we've talked about a potential rematch. And I told Josh on Saturday, and I don't know if you know this about Josh, but he has people sign his berserks that he beats with.
Yeah. Oh, he's murdered me with some berserks before, just not in person.
So he makes people sign the berserks that they die to. And I was telling Josh Saturday, I'm like, if he kills me with that berserk, like, I'm gonna sign it, but I'm not gonna be happy about it.
That's right. Nobody is. That's the best part.
Yeah. So anyways, we just sat down at the table and laughed about it, because before the tournament we were talking about how, we wanted to play Rug, and we want to play a Rug match later and all this stuff, and then we get paired up round 1. So anyways, so I'm playing Josh round 1, round 1, game 1 here, and he's got a little bit different of a deck than I'm used to. He's typically strictly on Rug, but he's splash white. He's playing 4 color at this point, and
Probably
he's
still on
packing
12 lands.
Swords. What's that?
Probably still on 12 lands. Like, this man is like fucking got luck on his side. He'll play like 12 He'll play like 12 fucking duels and be like, that's enough. Shivan Dragon, go ahead.
He's playing like 2 City of Brass, I think.
Just
and
2.
He's playing 4 color, and I'm like,
Sure.
I don't even know how it's working, but okay. But anyways, he got some. I got some early threats out. He was able to swords and disenchant them and kind of answer them.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he had Urnum and Serendib down, and then I got the Abyss out.
I was gonna say, you probably abyssed it at some point. That was lights out.
So then I got the Abyss out, and Urnum and Serendib died a terrible death. I think I got a Triskelion out and just was able to just swing home. Just the game completely changes once Abyss hits the table in a game like that. Like, just completely swings my way, and I was able to find a threat and take game 1. So for sideboarding for game 2, I definitely brought in a 3rd Abyss, and I brought in 2 City in a Bottle, because he's on
it just cripples him.
4 Serendibs. And he's got City of Brass. So, and he's running 4 color, right? So if you're running 4 color and you have City of Brass to help you with that, and you're running 4 Arnhem and 4 Serendib, like, City in a Bottle is just going to absolutely wreck you. So he actually got off to a pretty good start, but I was able to get City in a Bottle down. And I had a City of Brass, he had a City of Brass, they both died. And again, like, he wasn't able to play a lot of the cards out in his hand because of that. He couldn't find a disenchant to get rid of my Abyss, and I just eventually found a threat and just kind of won with that. I think I had 1 or 2 Icy Manipulator down and was tapping some of his lands, like, so I was trying to keep him off certain colors. I was definitely keeping him off white, I think. So that's basically kind of what I did in game 2. And so yeah, that was definitely game 2. At one point in game 1, when he had Serendib and Urnum down, like, I was a little bit worried, because that can be a very quick death if you're like death returns, right? So everything okay?
I got cats. They got cats.
It's all good. I got one too. So anyways, that was round 1 in my game against Josh B.
Yeah. So this next round, I think, is the most interesting one, because we'll get to the rest of these lists, but I think this one is interesting because I think it can answer. It's got a good sweeper in it, right? So, but anyway, tell me about it.
Yeah. Okay. So round 2 was against Jordan Zona. So I'm just, I keep playing the Nashville crew, right? Like they just keep
Yeah.
coming through here, and I keep playing them. He was on Troll Disco, like you said. That did definitely worry me for sure, just because disc can just completely wipe out what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Um, I had a little bit of a slow hand. I got an icy down, was able to tap some of his badlands to just kind of keep him off some of his colored mana. Um, and to be honest, like I started to kind of strip him out, and he kind of got mana screwed, and I just kind of found a threat and just kind of won that game.
Okay.
I was very surprised. He might have mulled the 6. Like I just felt bad because like his deck just, this happens sometimes, right? Like
Right.
deck just doesn't work sometimes, and he didn't get very much down. Like I think I even made a comment to him like when we were sideboarding, like I think I know what you're on, but I'm not sure. Like I didn't see any sedge trolls. I didn't see any creatures that game. I didn't see a disc. I didn't see anything. Like because I was able to kind of keep him off land through strip mine and icy, so he couldn't really cast anything. So assuming he was on Troll Disco, brought in another Abyss. At
Easy.
this
Yep.
point, I'm thinking, damn, I should have just played 3 in my main because I keep bringing it in like every game so far. I brought in 2 swords against his trolls, and I brought in I think 2 or 3 disenchants. I pulled out the juggernauts because I was just afraid if he has lightning bolts, like that's just going to be bad for me, especially with his creatures being harder to kill. So I ended up taking the jugs out for most of that. I can't remember what else I maybe cut. But I think I had at least 3 answers to his. I might have left 1 divine offering in, and maybe brought in another divine offering and 1 disenchant is maybe what it would have been. But I had answers to his disc, had answers to his trolls, right? Like between 4 ices, 3 abyss, and 2 swords, that should be enough to answer Sedge
Yeah.
Troll. So that's how I sideboarded for game 2. Game 2, I had the abyss in my opener, so I was able to kind of get that down, but I waited to play it until he played a troll. So he kind of played troll go, and then I said abyss, and then again like I'm able to get some creatures down and just kind of overwhelm him at that point, and just kind of took game 2. So I think I got lucky there. I mean, I got lucky a lot of times. Like I was talking to DFB after the tournament, like
Uh-huh.
in order to win a tournament, like you have to play a good deck, you have to play well, and you have to get really lucky. Like in the fact that I
Yes.
didn't really see any threats game 1, like was super lucky for me. And I feel bad when games aren't interactive like that because I'm here to play somebody. I'm not here to like watch them play a land and not do anything, right? So kind of felt bad about that, but that's I've been on the other side of that, and that's how it goes sometimes. So that was round 2.
All right. I don't know. I don't know this next person, but I probably fairly familiar with his deck. This should be an easy matchup. I'm actually
Oh,
surprised in round 3 he's in the winners bracket. He's probably a good player. I'm just saying I know the deck pretty well.
yeah. So again, Nashville crew. Played Stephen Bush. He was on Naya Bizarre Zoo. Um,
Oh, he's playing Bazaars. Never mind. He's playing a better deck than I would play.
yeah. So he's on Naya Bizarre Zoo. Um, it's it's very close to Jayco's. I actually talked to him today before the
Uh-huh.
pod, and I was just curious. Like I didn't see his deck photos, so I just didn't know if he had it around and I could see it. So he's playing something very similar to what Jayco typically plays with, you know, um, 4 apes,
Yeah, it's got
Savannah
lions.
lions,
It's like all the
yeah,
one drops. Yeah, it's very low
creature,
curve.
all that
Yeah.
stuff, right? Um, so game 1, he had an opener with Sylvan Library, which is like really pretty good for the deck he's playing.
Yeah.
Um, he gets a couple lions on board. And then again, like I get lucky all day. I play the abyss and then just kind of take
It's over.
yeah, it's just like the abyss hits the board and the complexion of the game completely changes. Um the abyss hits the board, I find my robots. And then, I think he disenchants some of them, but like I have so many of them, it just doesn't matter. So I ended up
And
taking
Trike's
game one that way.
Trike's a murder spree against this deck. I mean, I've played this deck so much that I don't play it anymore because like it doesn't work well against Trikes. Like Trike's fucking murder. So
Yeah.
you got to
Well, the
play up the
thing
curve.
is, like, I was really like, this is the matchup. I kept thinking to myself, like, Argothi and Pixie could like really mess me up here. So,
You're playing a
I
virtual
brought in
8
another
manipulators.
Abyss.
You'd be okay.
Yeah, but still, it's still scary, right? So I brought in another Abyss. I think I brought in swords to maybe deal with pixies.
Sure.
Maybe like 2 of them. Um, and I figured if he's on Jayco's list, he's probably not running City of Brass. My only real threat is going to be Curd Apes, so I don't think I sided in City in a Bottle. But I just sided in swords to help deal with pixies. So
Sure.
um so anyways, I went ahead and played game 2 there. Pretty sure he signed Divine Offerings because I think a couple of my threats got DO'd. And I think I remember playing this game where it was early. I think I tried to copy one of my threats, and he ended up. I think he divine offered it while copy was on the stack, and I ended up having to copy a Mox. I think this was this game. So, but I eventually was able to kind of fight through this with how many creatures I had, and was able to take it down. So that was a good game. Good matchup. I didn't see an Argothian Pixies again. Like sometimes you just get lucky. That probably would have been challenging for me. I can't shoot pixies. I can't block pixies. The only thing I can do is tap it with an icy, or it dies to the abyss, or I swords it. Right. I really only have like 3 answers for it. So again, got lucky there. I don't think I ever saw pixies. I think I saw lions and apes. That's pretty much it. So
Yeah.
so anyways, that was round 3.
Easy money on that one.
Yeah.
I know the last person you play. I don't know these middle 2 people.
Yeah. So round 4, this was definitely the hardest match I played.
I was gonna say the rest of this looks not terrible, not like a terrible matchup, but I'm curious about this one, I guess.
Yeah. So I mean, this is a combo deck. So I played Brandon Adams. He was on Power Artifact. And it's a combo deck, right? So this one's a little bit concerning for me because I only really have one answer for it, which is Divine Offering in my main, right? Like
Right.
that's pretty much all I got. I can't, I can't really tap down his basalt monolith.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Because he's just gonna respond and float 3 and untap it, right? So like I
Yep.
can't really do much. So what ended up happening with this one, game 1, he was able to answer some of my creatures with fireballs, and some artifact removal. He was able to get out, I believe, a basalt monolith, but he didn't have power artifact. He eventually got power artifact. But the pivotal point in the game is I eventually get out a jug and a Suchi, and I just start just pounding with a jug and Suchi, and he can't answer him. He's already answered some of my creatures I've played, and he just can't answer a jug and a Suchi. I get him down to 9, and I he goes he gets power artifact out in 1 turn and a rocket launcher, but you can't use rocket launcher the turn it comes into play. You have to wait.
You got to wait 1 turn.
Yeah. So I have 1 turn to kill him, right? And this is game 1. So he has a City of Brass untapped. Okay. I draw an Icy Manipulator, and I'm just like, this game is over. Actually, I didn't have a jug and a Suchi. I had 2 Suchis out. Sorry. I had a Suchi and a copy of Suchi. I did not have a Juggernaut. So I can only do 8 to him, okay? I swing for 8. I get him down to 1. So I had 2 Suchis out. I do 8 to him. He's at 1. He has a City of Brass untapped. I draw Icy Manipulator. I'm just like, oh my God, I've won this game. Like, I was so worried that he was going to just rocket launcher me, right? And I was going to lose. So I get super excited, right? Like, I'm composed, but like inside, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to win this game by tapping a City Brass. This is going to be so awesome. Like, I cannot wait to do this. So I get super excited about it. I tap my mana. I don't play a land yet. This is second main phase. I haven't played my land yet. Stupidly. I tap my workshop and something else. I think it was like, I don't know, whatever. It was like an underground sea or something. I play my ICM manipulator and I have one Mox untapped. And he goes power sync for one. And I just wasn't thinking. And I had already like put down Icy and like said, I'm gonna tap your City Brass. And then I did that really quick. And then he's like power sync for one. And I wasn't thinking that the land, like the Mox that I had just tapped to tap Icy to tap his City of Brass was untapped when he would have cast.
Right.
When he would have cast the power sync. So I didn't pay for the power sync. But I've been thinking about this. Like, you have to pay for power sync, right? Like, your mana has taps for it. So if you have a spell cast and you have open mana,
I think
I think you
it's
have to
land.
pay.
So
Like, I would have had to pay, I think. I've just been thinking about this.
it's all lands with mana abilities. So you could use your Mox because it's not a land. So
So
like the whatever Oracle text, whatever the fuck you want to call it, it's like quote counter target spell unless its controller pays X. If that player doesn't, they tap all lands with mana abilities they control and lose all unspent mana. So you would, but they're not like Moxes aren't lands, so you get around it.
yeah. So anyways, like, that was my biggest punt of the day. If I just would have like slowed down, thought about him saying power sync for one, tapped my Mox, paid the one, played out a land, and then tapped his City of Brass, I would have won. Like, I had the game won. But he ended up passing the turn and he beat me with rocket launcher. So anyways,
It happens. It happens.
that was my biggest punt of the day, and it was just because I was playing fast. I should have just slowed down, said, "Hey, I'm gonna play a land out. I'm gonna cast this. I'm gonna try to, I'm gonna try to tap a City Brass." So just lesson learned, I guess. So anyways, so anyways, game two, I take a lot of cards out. So I take out Time Twister. It just, like, I don't know, like, Time Twister was pretty good for me when I played it during the day, but like, I don't know, like, I just didn't like. For
You
me,
don't
it
want to
was like,
cycle their combo pieces back. Is
yeah,
what you really don't
exactly.
want to do, right?
Like, do I really want to give him 7 cards for him to maybe find his combo pieces? Like, it just seemed not good. So I cut Time Twister, I cut 2 Abyss, I cut a Balance because Balance just seems terrible because he's not playing any creatures.
Right.
And I bring in 1 Divine Offering for Disenchant. And I'm just like, whenever I see a Basalt Monolith, I am just gonna just Divine Offer it or Disenchant it. So turn 2 or game 2, I go turn 1 Juggernaut, okay, and he's like, okay. Turn 2, I go, uh, copy Juggernaut, swing for 5. And then I think the next turn he kills one of my Juggernauts, but I find something else. I think I won game 2 in like 2 minutes or something. Because just just Juggernaut comes down, I copy it. He has to answer the copy the next turn. So, but yeah, game 2 was pretty quick, and then we go to game 3, right? So, turn 1, right? He goes Mox, Tropical Island, Basalt Monolith, go. Just like, wow, okay.
Yep.
So then I go turn 1 Disenchant, and then turn 2 he goes Basalt Monolith, and then I go Divine Offering. So we're kind of duking it out. I eventually dig and find some creatures. I think I kept a medium hand because I had a couple artifact removal in it, just because I thought if he gets something down early, I can just, disenchant it or divine offering it and just kind of go for a longer game. He eventually regrows his monolith. He gets power artifact on it, but he can't find rocket launcher. He
doesn't have
can't
kill
find
count,
stream of life, and he can't find fireball. He can't find all three of them for like 3 turns. I eventually disenchant it with the power artifact on it. And then again, just like all these other games, I eventually just, draw into my threats and then I just win that way. So but I would talk to him after the game. Like, I was literally scared to death of, like, he's got this combo hanging out and it's sitting there for like 3 turns and he can't find the last piece to his combo. So that was round 4. That was, I punted game 1. I probably should have won game 1, but it's whatever. We still had 3 pretty good swingy matches. It was a fun round for sure, but made out on that 1-2-1.
Nice. That was the only loss of the day.
Yes, that was my only loss of the day. So round 5, I played Lorian Elman from the Lords of the Pit. He was on this black, blue, white, good stuff deck where, he was on Lions and Serendibs and all this stuff, right? And just kind of, he's splashed for black power and all this. So this is another one of those games, just like the Naya game, where, he gets Lions out quick. And this is another one of those games where I get Abyss down. And I think I get a Juggernaut down, and I just ride that for the win. And again, Abyss just coming down just changes the complexion. The thing I've noticed with these white decks I'm playing is a lot of times these threats come down so early that they have to answer it with a disenchant. And a lot of times they don't have a disenchant for like an Abyss. Because if they don't disenchant my threat, they're dead in, like if it's a Juggernaut, if they don't disenchant it, they're dead in like 4 turns. So if they
you're overloading the disenchants.
Yeah. So it's almost like you want to save your disenchants in case I get Abyss down. But that's pretty much how game 1 went. As far as sideboarding, I brought in another Abyss. Again, this sounds like a theme at this point. I've only cited them out in round 4. Every other game I've cited them, brought that Abyss in. I think I brought in some more creature removal too, just to make sure I had enough. This game was pretty crazy. He brought in everything for white. He brought in divine offerings. He probably brought in 3, I would guess. He brought in, his. I don't know if he was playing 4 disenchant main, but if he didn't, he was bringing in his 4th. He brought in 4 swords, and this game, I was playing threats, and then he was just killing him with his removal. And I think he probably killed. He plowed, disenchanted, and DO'd probably maybe 5 creatures, maybe 6 creatures. And if memory serves me right, I think I got a time twister in there at some point and was able to shuffle some of them back. Well, I'm shuffling his removal back, but I'm like shuffling some of them back. And this was a pretty interesting game because he only had 1 white source, and I kept on tapping it during his upkeep. So, I would play a threat or something, and then on his upkeep, I'd be tapping his white source, and then he would just be like disenchanting on his upkeep or DOing on his upkeep because that's his only window to use it because of Icy. So this was a really pretty good game. But again, I was able to overwhelm the removal at that point and just kind of get some threats to stick. And then once I get them to stick, I've been holding back my copies, so I just start copying stuff, and then it just kind of the game just kind of ends at that point. I think he was at like 28 or something like that.
Excellent.
He was at 28, I think, and I was able to kind of just keep swinging in and beat him that way. So good matchup. Went 2-0 on this one. But I did have to definitely fight through that removal game too.
Nice. All right.
Go
Last
ahead.
round?
Yes, this is the last round. So in round 5, there were 4 of us that were undefeated at that point. Paul Fierro ended up winning his match, and Paul's also the host of Kumite, right? Him and the Knights of Taplar. And it was basically Michigan versus Ohio for the belt. So Paul was on his Living Plane Prison deck, which is, if you haven't seen Paul's deck, it's amazing. Like, he has all these incredible altars in it. Susan Van Camp was there, and we can talk about that here in a minute. He got Susan Van Camp to alter one of his Old Man of the Sea that he plays in his deck. Like, she put like I think she put like a pirate hat on the Old Man and like put like a treasure chest or something next to it. Like, it was an amazing altar that she did for him. But Paul has this awesome Living Plane Prison deck that he loves to play. So it was interesting. Like, he's got a lot of land destruction in it too, which is kind of scary for me, right? Like, if he can start landing his land destruction and get Living Plane down, like, all my lands get summoning sickness. I can't use them the turn they come in to play. Like, it really slows me down. So I'm not gonna lie,
it fucks up your abysses too.
What's that?
Fucks up your abysses too.
Yeah, it does, for sure. So anyways, on this matchup, he was able to get, I think, Birds of Paradise and a Prodigal Sorcerer out. He was also playing the Legends banding lands. So for this event, all those Legends banding lands, they also tap for the color that they're in. So
they
that's
made
a
him
house rule they
playables.
play with.
Yeah.
So he was playing a lot of those. But he wasn't really able to get his deck going. He couldn't really get Living Plane out. He couldn't really get any more threats out. And I was just able to get threats out quick and just won that way. So again, like, similar, like, I was able to, I can't recall. I think I did, like, turn 1 or 2 Jug or Suchi and just kept on, casting threats and just won that way. Game 2, a little bit afraid of Energy Flux. He's on blue, so I cited in for Disenchant. I don't know if I brought in a third Abyss. I think I thought about it. I'm not exactly sure, but my main thing was he's on Living Plane and he has Energy Flux. So I just need to be able to disenchant those 2 things, and then I should be okay.
Right.
Get an early threat, get an Icy. He does get an early Living Plane down, and I don't have a white source, but I do have a disenchant in my hand. I hadn't played a white source. I had a Tundra in my hand and a disenchant in my hand, but I had yet to play a white source. That turn, I think I draw Mox Pearl. I play a Tundra. I can't use it though because it has Summoning Sickness, but I do play my Pearl and I do disenchant Living Plane, and then from there again, like, I think I get a trike out. I think I copy it. I
Game over.
right trike to the victory. Take my my +1/+1 counters off and just kind of finish it that way. So yeah, it just, again, like, speed's the name of the game with my deck. I'm there to just put a threat down on turn 1 or 2, and if my opponent can answer it, great. I'll just try to draw another one. If I can't draw another one, I'm just going to draw an Icy Manipulator, or put down an Icy Manipulator, start tapping down their stuff to slow them down. I mean, that's just the name of the game with my deck. So that's what ended up happening with round 6, and ended up taking home the belt at that point. So but kudos to all my opponents all day, especially Paul. Like, if anybody's wondering, I said this about Dave's tournament earlier to Thrash Bash. If anybody's on the fence about going to Kumite, do it. It's an amazing event. You play for this beautiful belt. I don't know if you want me to put it on my down cam so your
It is
YouTube audience can see it.
It is quite excellent. I'll ask you for a picture of it so I can post it. It is like a real belt though, right? Like it's real.
Yeah.
It's got some heft to it.
It does. Here, let me see if I can grab it real quick here. So I have it on my wall here. I just, if anybody wants to know the hack, it's 2 thumbtacks. but it definitely does have some weight to it. Here, let's see if I can switch my cam. 1 second.
Oh, you use OBS? Oh, he actually got it like engraved too. Okay. Excellent.
So there's a chaos. I don't know if you can quite see it very well.
Yeah, you can see it.
So there's like a chaos orb on the main part, and it says World Champion Kumite on the front of it. Then there's a Sarah Angel over here. There's a Berserk over here. And then Juzam, I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, you can.
Then Shivan. So yeah, that's the belt.
So you're priced into going next year because you have to take the belt back to play for again. Is that correct?
Well, here's the thing about that. The last 2 years, so the belt, I believe, has been around. This is the 3rd year of the belt. And the first year Pez won it. And 2 years ago Pez won it. Last year, David Lance won it. He's from our group in Columbus. So David won it last year. David is a really good player. He played Pink Weenie last year and took it down with Pink Weenie.
Ooh, nice.
And Raja wanted to honor David this year and played David's exact list at Kumite this year. And I think Raja won 2 or 3 games, I think. So, he's
a pretty strong player.
Said,
so
I'm questioning my life decisions at one point, I think is what he said. But very, very proud that Ohio was able to take the belt back. Because Cleveland, Akron, Cincinnati, all of us, we talk all the time, and we have quite many players here in Ohio that play up in Cleveland and Columbus and Cincinnati and Akron and other places too. So proud to take that belt back to Ohio. There's a little bit of a rivalry brewing here. I beat Paul in the final there. And Paul's from Michigan, so a little bit of a Midwest rivalry going there. But yeah, no, it was great. It was a great event. Lot of fun. I was just surprised. Like, going 12-1 is just like very hard to do. I'm surprised I honestly did it. Like I said, I think a lot of this stuff kind of went my way on that day. Not playing a troll disco deck and not seeing a creature game 1, like that's just me getting lucky. Me drawing Abyss as much as I did, like that's pretty darn lucky too. So I just think that, things just went my way that day, and yeah, it was a great time, great event. And again, proud to bring the belt back to Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. You guys should have a state line showdown. But
yeah,
the room was not full of slouches. I know that the Nashville crew showed up, and I know they're good.
Yep.
I believe DFB, Simon Christie, Will McGran. I want to talk about that, but I got to wrap up soon. But that's a different story.
Yeah.
Those guys showed up. Paul Fierro is obviously no slouch. I didn't see anybody else on my timeline that was there, but like that's like a pretty good murders row of players. So it wasn't like this wasn't a like Eric Martin tournament, 12 people in the back. So that's what I guess I'm
Yeah.
arguing for.
Yeah, and when I saw Dave and Will and Simon show up, I'm like, wow, there's going to be some real competition for the belt today, like no doubt. In
Yeah.
you know, um, I
Who
think
was the other undefeated from round 6? Like you said, 4 people undefeated going into round 6. Who was your other undefeated? Which I'm sure you just beat on breakers, but like
so. Lorian and I played. Both of
okay.
us were undefeated when we played. Um,
It doesn't if you don't
I
know off
can
the top of
tell
your head,
you,
it's not a big deal,
I
but
have
yeah.
it. I have it. Um, and then Andy Callahan
Oh,
and
okay.
Paul. Yeah, so um, Andy and Paul played, and then Lorian and I played.
Gotcha.
And Paul beat Andy, and then I beat Lorian, and then Paul and I played for the belt. So that's
Gotcha. Okay.
basically how it worked out. And I Andy's deck was pretty good too. I talked to Andy afterwards, and he said just like he just couldn't get threats down quickly, and then Paul put down Living Plane, and then Paul started like ice storming him, and it just kind of fell apart. So,
Absolutely.
um, yeah. So, but yeah, it was a great time. Afterwards, uh,
I heard the Nashville Airbnb had a conference room. Can you tell me about this? A conference room?
yeah. So okay, so after the event, Dave, Will, Simon, Ben, and I, the five of us, we went out to dinner.
Hmm.
And while we were waiting for our table, Dave had the great idea of taking pictures of me around downtown Jackson of me uh, posing with the belt.
Excellent.
Um, Let me see if I can share here real quick. Um, so this was one photo that Dave took of me. With posing with the belt here, which is just absolutely hysterical. um and then there's another one here. We found this like tree stump in front of a store. So let's see if I can find it here real quick. um yeah, here we go. So we found this restaurant called Junkyard Dog,
Okay.
and I posed in front of this restaurant called Junkyard Dog, sitting on this like tree stump or something. So these are pretty hysterical. This was Dave's idea, but we had 30 minutes to kill before we were going to get called for our table, so we had to kill time some way. So um, took my glam shots with Dave and the crew. We ended up eating dinner, and then we drove over to this Nashville Airbnb. I had not been there. Ben and I drove in the morning of. Uh, yeah, Dave, Simon, and Will flew into Detroit the night before and drove over, rented a car. So they had actually seen this Airbnb in the conference room. You walk into this Airbnb, there's this gigantic kitchen. The Nashville guys are playing Type 4 on the left. If anybody doesn't know what Type 4 is, it's basically mono green, and everybody draws from a center deck in the table and plays mono green cards. So it's an interesting format. It's a lot of fun. Looked like a lot of fun. I didn't play it. And then off to the right is this conference room. And instead of being social with these people that we came to this Airbnb of, Dave, Dave, Will, Simon, myself, and Ben, we decided to just like camp out in the conference room of this Airbnb. And Ben and Dave played uh they played Alpha to Alliances plus Apocalypse, Painland, Anti.
Mm.
And that was hysterical watching the two of them play.
That's
And when I
Cam's
was
new anti format. Yeah.
yeah. So and well, when we were at the restaurant, Will and I were talking workshop tech and stuff like that. And I said, "Do you want to play? Do you want to play when we get back?" I just figured, I haven't played Will in workshop, so I might as well try, right? So, um, Will's like, "Yeah, let's play." Um, So Will and we start playing our game, and this, Dave calls this like round 7 for John or
Yeah,
something. I don't
round
know.
7.
And so I'm playing Will. Will's on blue, black, red. I'm on blue, black, white. So blue, black, white is typically what Will plays, but he's playing red. He's got like Blood Moon in the main. He's got Atog. I think he's got Abyss in the main too. I have this crazy opener. I think I have Time Walk and DT. I DT for Ancestral. I probably should have got Mind Twist and Mind Twisted him. I ended up not doing that. I got DT instead. Got my Icy down. Got a Suchi. I got some ridiculous gas on that Ancestral. I got like a Lotus and a couple threats. I think I was able to cast like a Trike or something off the Lotus. And I just gassed out and just puked my hand basically. I think he had a relic barrier, but it just didn't matter. I just had too many threats, and I took down game 1. So game 2, I take out Abyss. I think I side in a disenchant, but I'm kind of like shaving copies and stuff a little bit, like maybe a copy, maybe some of these other colored cards, because I know he's going to try to bring in Blood Moon and just try to Blood Moon me and just get me off all my colored cards. So what I do is I bring in like 2 Relic Barrier. I bring in a third Tetravis. Like I'm just trying to just make my deck as mono brown as possible in case he gets Blood Moon down. And he gets this crazy opener with like he gets Library down, like he plays like Ancestral and Lotus and all this stuff. He's on Library, he gets Blood Moon down, and he just out threats me and wins. And for anybody curious, Blood Moon on the table and a Shop's Mirror is the most boring game ever, because you're both swinging with Suchi at each other, and you're both taking 4 because you block the other person's Suchi with your Suchi, and you just both take 4 damage. Like they're not very interesting games. But anyways, we play game 3. He has Library turn 1 again. And I remember I was on the play, obviously. So I balance him early. I think I get 2 Moxes down and 2 lands, and then I balance him while he was on Library. And I think he had to go down to like 3 cards or 4 cards or something, which made his Library just basically null and void. And just like these other games, like he gets threats out, he gets Relic Barrier out. He eventually gets 2 Blood Moons on board, but since I sided in, I think at that point I had 15 creatures in the deck. I just find more threats than him and just take it down that way. So, like I told Dave, like if that's in a tournament, like I think Will and I take all the obvious lines in that game, but if we're in a tournament together playing, like due to the pressure of the tournament, it probably plays out differently. Maybe, I don't know. Like I said, I get nervous sometimes in a tournament, but anyways, they were very close matches, but I ended up beating Will at the house in the conference room of the Airbnb.
Excellent.
So that's what happened in round 7.
I'm gonna get that address for next year.
Yeah. So if you come next year, I think they should rent the Airbnb. I guess Alan Finney had like 2 like racing simulators in his bedroom or something insane like that. It was just like this insane house. So that was a good time. We had fun. One thing I forgot to mention, Tom Hagen was able, he's fostered a relationship with Susan Van Camp. And those of you who don't know, Susan Van Camp has been out of the game. I'm big into sign cards, and she's been out of the game of Magic for quite some time, over a decade. I think she had some health challenges, and some of that is better now. A lot of that's better from what Tom's told me. And she's signing again, and she was at Kumite, and it was just incredible to be able to interact with her again. I met her at Gen Con in 2010 or 2009 or something, and she signed some of my cards, and she was super nice, and she's just a very nice person. And it's just great to see someone who's inactive for some time be able to come back to the game. Everyone gave her lots of love. I told her stories about Gen Con, and I think she was getting emotional about it. Like, I wasn't trying to make her emotional, but like, the thing is like, when you get to talk to these artists and just tell them how much it means, how much this game means to them, how much their art means to you, like, I think that can be overwhelming to them. At least was for Susan. So, um, I'm very happy to say that, you know, she's back. She's signing. She signed a ton of cards for everybody there, and just it was just great to see her back out in the community. So that was awesome to see, and I was proud to be at the event that she came back and did signing for. So that was awesome to have her there.
All right. My wife is staring at me from that direction. What do you want to close out with?
Oh, geez. Well, this is I don't know, man. I think I would like to get if you want to do another pod with, you
We can
know,
do
some
another
other,
one.
yeah, with some other shops players. I think that'd be a lot of fun. We can talk about each other's lists. And you know, just wanted to say thank you for having me. I know we've talked about doing this for a while. It was great being here, talking, you know, talking my list, and glad I could, you know, share how my day went, and it was awesome. So thanks for having me. I really appreciate it, and keep doing what you're doing on the pod. It's been awesome.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Yeah, it's been good to talk to you. I'm gonna actually just turn this off. We can keep talking. Hold on. Yada yada yada. There's the stop.